As we move into the last quarter of 2020, a time that's traditionally home to the biggest launches of the year, we've still got many great looking indie games expected out before the end of 2020. Welcome back to Get Indie Gaming, where today we're counting down the top 10 best looking new indie games of October 2020. Starting off at number 10 and out of early access with its official release on October 21st, already a top seller in Steam from its early access launch all the way back in February, ScourgeBringer aims to channel the rawness and mystery of those early roguelike platformers with its fluid controls, tight aerial combat and pixel art styles. There's no backtracking. The game uses a procedural combination of pre-built challenge rooms in what the developers have said is a similar experience to not unlike the Binding of Isaac. Other comparisons that feel safe and fair would see us point to such games as Celeste, and we're thinking anyone out there who enjoyed that kind of experience and challenge would do well to check this out. The launch and move out of early access comes with a sizable increase in new game content and material. The overall story has been remodeled with updated dialogues, additional lore and more endings. The weapon system has been revamped as well with additional shops and NPCs and more bosses. This one comes out to the Switch, the Xbox One, Game Pass for PC, Steam and the Epic Games Store. Up next and at number 9, Partisans 1941 is a real-time tactical strategy game set in World War II where you control a group of Soviet partisans to wage a guerrilla war on the Eastern Front against the invading German forces. We recall playing a demo of this way back in early 2019 at EGX Rezzed in London, and looking back at the notes of the show, we really enjoyed the game's take and implementation of the strategic elements where it combines action, resource management, base building, and of course stealth. You play as the overall partisan commander, and aside from leading your team into battles and ambushes, you'll also experience their day-to-day lives and routines in between these missions. Here you build and develop your base all out in the woods where you prepare for the oncoming journeys into action. You'll also need to keep them as happy and as motivated as possible. We've not played too many RTS games over the course of the year, and yet this one might be rather special. If you fancy a look before its release on PC via Steam on October the 14th, there's a demo which can be found via the link down in the description. Up next and at number 8, something rather more chilled in the form of Carto, a game first shown off in the PC Gaming Show from June earlier in the year. While it looks stunning, what really appeals is what seems to be a really clever and unique world-shifting puzzle mechanic. You rearrange pieces of the map, which in so doing allows you to discover new mysterious lands where you can meet with QWERTY characters and make friends as you do. The developers here in the past have mentioned much of the spirit in the game comes from the exploration of these new places and learning about the new cultures and people you meet. The dialogue comes from Nick Sutter, who you may know from Celeste, Bloodroots and others, so we're sure this puzzling journey of self-discovery and friendship will have a special witty edge to it. Carto comes out towards the end of the month on PC and consoles. Up now and out towards the middle of the month, Cake Bash is a deliciously sweet-looking, fast and frantic 4-player party game where you play as one of 7 classic-looking pieces of confectionery, where you do battle against a number of locations and across multiple in-game modes. It looks so delightfully appeasing, and yes, that's the last of the food-based puns, we promise. While, however, we've yet to play it, we can see us sitting down as a group and simply getting stuck in to what feels and looks like it will offer plenty of mini-game related goodness. Cake Bash is coming to the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Steam and Stadia, with a release to the Switch coming out at some point down the line. Up next and at this month's number 6, we covered Zelter towards the end of last year with its successful Kickstarter campaign, with it now headed to Steam Early Access on October 22nd. Back then, as still holds true today, there's something rather touching and cute about this crafting-based survival horror game that naturally enough reminds us of what Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley might look like with added zombies. While there are many similar games, for example Atomicrops from a little earlier in the year, we're more inclined towards the protagonist in this one as, like other survival games, they'll be needing to gather food, water and make sure their base is fit for purpose for, well, fending off the zombie hordes, which in keeping with seemingly most other zombie hordes, are most vicious during the hours of darkness. While there's hardly a shortage of such games on Steam and elsewhere, we're hoping Zelter has enough going for it to be that slightly bit different.
Captain's log. Earth date, I lose track. Today was supposed to be simple. In and out. Duck soup, as my great-great-great-great-grandfather used to say, in his war.
Halfway through this month's countdown, Space Crew is the successor to the highly wonderful, if at times super stressful World War II bomber sim, Bomber Crew, from 3 or so years ago. We say wonderful, although the conflict between the setting and the visualizations with the doe-eye characters did, for some of us, make the original a tough play. With this new sci-fi setting, those problems are essentially removed. This time, well, the developers have been clear that there's even more for you, the player, to look after, with the need in some cases to get down to the act of more intense micromanagement. Having played the demo, which as this video airs is still available on the Steam homepage, that concept plays out with you needing to be firmly on the micromanagement ball from the outset. If the final game is anything like the demo, and we've no reason to think otherwise, Space Crew looks all set to offer a compelling, if somewhat slightly challenging strategy game with a dose of humour alongside it. Space Crew is coming out this October 15th, with it jetting itself onto Steam, the PlayStation 4, the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox One. At number 4, and the third instalment in the series, Aery Sky Castle gives us another opportunity to head on into the delightfully whimsical world that gives one of the most satisfying and enjoyable flight-based experiences you can play outside of more dedicated simulator-based titles. The fluidity of motion, as we saw in the previous games, Broken Dreams and A Little Bird Adventure, is what makes those two stand out, and we're ever hopeful this aspect has been maintained within this sequel. As before, the setting is visually wholesome, where you're able to explore 10 different landscapes, each with their own theme as you collect feathers to unlock and progress to the next area. It's combat-free and likely to offer the kind of experience that's perfect to unwind with come the end of the working day. Aery Sky Castle is coming to PC via Steam. Console owners can look to get hold of this for the Switch and the Xbox One. Before we move on into this month's top 3, here are a few bonus games, the honourable mentions, we wanted to take a few moments to highlight. The first of these, Pumpkin Jack, well, it's a bit of a risk, as at the time of writing, we're not too sure if it's going to make it out. Although, given what it's all about, it surely has to come out towards the end of the month, and if not, well, that's a chance missed right there. In any case, it looks super fun, and since it's not like we're going to any Halloween parties anytime soon, here's hoping it comes out in time for Halloween. Next up we have the Guise, a dark Metroidvania fairy tale about a boy that's trapped inside the body of a monster. At the time this video goes up, there's a demo to be had via the Steam homepage, and it's all shaping up to offer something that's deliciously macabre. Up now, and the last honourable mention for the month, we have TraptionBakery. Every once in a while we something that pretty much stops us dead in our tracks, and when this came into our mailbox, well, that's pretty much just what happened. As far as we can gather, it's a puzzle cum curio, where you work with a contraption made up of a hodgepodge of recycled material, where you pull levers, cords, and generally interact with it to perhaps one day bake a loaf of bread. Whatever it is, it's certainly delightful looking and comes out via Steam on October the 1st. With those honourable mentions taken care of, let's find out which games out this October 2020 have made it into the top 3. At number 3, and coming out of early access where it's spent the past 15 or so months, we're truly excited to see Overcrowd come out on October the 6th. What makes this one stand out above the many other management games out there is we believe how it places much of the focus on the people within the game. Of course, there's the usual building, construction, buying things and hiring staff, although it's the commuters themselves that seem to take the centre stage. We think this game is really rather poignant right now, and for the time in which we find ourselves, commuting is, or was at least so very recognisable, if that's the right word, and we get the sense the game has been designed to elicit empathy with the travellers looking to get from A to B in an orderly fashion. On top of this, we're also hugely excited to see how the game implements what's called an RPG-like levelling system for the staff, as again, there seems to be a focus on their well-being and upskilling themselves to further help the smooth running of the metro station. As far as management and people simulations go, Overcrowd could be one of the best and most enjoyable games, with its unique setting and features coming out over the whole of 2020. Next up at number 2, and with it coming some exceptionally AAA style visuals, we have Ghostrunner, all with its neon tinged, no let's make that neon drenched cyberpunk stylings. As others have no doubt already remarked, this really reminds us of some of the action games you might see within Mirror's Edge and perhaps Crackdown, with the recent gameplay trailer released during the Gamescom just gone, showing off the parkour-based action rather finely. Having had time with the demo a while back, we found the hack and slash combat in this single-player adventure to be every bit as fun and as exciting as you might expect from the visuals. This is coming to PC via Steam, Epic and GOG, with it also coming out on all of the usual consoles towards the end of the month on October the 27th.
Oh, hello there. I'm Maurice Lupton. I was the curator in this museum on the beautiful island of Shelmaston. And let's get this out of the way right now. I am dead.
And at the number 1 place for indie games out in October 2020, we have I Am Dead, which comes from the makers of Wilmot's Warehouse, with it landing on October the 8th. I Am Dead tells the tale of a museum creator called Morris and his dog Sparky. Both happen to be dead, and they are responsible for trying to stop a volcanic eruption that threatens to destroy their island home. While at its heart a hidden object game of sorts, although very different from most in the genre, what's really grabbed our attention within this game comes from the notion, just like Welcome to Elk from last month, is this one seems to be all about getting lost within the stories and tales of the characters you meet along the way. As we mentioned in our recent review of Hades, which if you haven't seen, there's a link in the top right hand corner or down in the description, it's these story-driven narrative-heavy games of late we've really been enjoying, and that's the main reason we've placed it at number 1 and really look forward to getting hold of it. We're planning a review for this across its launch platforms on the Switch and PC, so be sure to come back later in the month to see if it stands up to our expectations. However, given the pedigree of its creators, we're pretty sure it will. And with that, many thanks for watching. If you've liked this month's selection, be sure to let us know down in the comments. As always, be sure also to push on that like button and subscribe to the channel if you've yet to do so. We're looking to break the 100,000 subscriber mark by the end of the year, and every new subscriber is massively welcomed and appreciated. In any case, we'll see you all here next time on Get Indie Gaming.